I have been on a journey to be someone. And along the way, I learned the secrets. It's your friends, the people you choose to spend time with. My life, health, and wealth have been changed forever by the people around me. And now it's time for you to meet my friends. This is the Be Someone podcast with Michael Hong. Welcome back to the Be Someone podcast with Michael Hong. Today, I am excited to introduce my guest, Ray Zhang. Ray is a legend in the land flipping community. He's been on every podcast you've ever watched, and this guy is crushing it in the real estate space. And I'm excited, if you can't tell, to have Ray on the show. Ray, how you doing, brother?
Doing well. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, man. So thanks for coming on, and you got on very short notice. So Ray and I have a lot of friends in common in the industry. We're both friends of Tom Kroll. We're both friends of Joe McCall. Joe McCall, I'm going to be bothering you to get on the podcast next, my man. I'm coming for you. But Ray, before we jump into what you're working on and what you do in real estate, brother, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, or maybe the three people listening who don't know who you are?
Absolutely. So I originally come from China, and as a student, so after I got here, I started to run out of money because my parents didn't give me much. And after a while, I became homeless for a couple of months. So I started to flip a lot of different things. I grabbed free stuff, I flipped cars, flipped furnitures, and eventually, a couple of years ago, about 5 years ago, I came to land. I started to flip land. That's how basically my story is.
Yeah. So you came here as an international student, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really uh, relate to your story. While I was born in America, my wife came here as an international student, and I met her when she was in college, so I know how challenging it could be. I mean, it's hard enough to go to college, but to go to a foreign country, and learn a language and learn a whole different system, it's been challenging for my wife and other members of her family. But I got mad respect for foreign students, man. It is a challenge, and as someone who doesn't have a college degree, I couldn't even graduate college. and
Yeah.
uh and my wife got a master's degree, so I just have unlimited respect for international students, man.
I didn't graduate either. I got kicked out because I was trying to flip a lot of different stuff, and the school find out, and they didn't like it.
Oh, really? They found out that you were so you I know you used to flip cars and stuff on I remember part of your story. You flipped cars and stuff on Facebook Marketplace, but the school found out about it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I had me and my partner. We had about 80 cars in in the school, and the principal came out one day. It was during holiday. He was like, "Why we have so many cars? I thought the student already left." But they find out through the security. It was two Asian guy running around, every day. This principal sent us home.
Oh, man, you were using the school parking lot to store your cars to flip.
Right. Yeah.
Didn't think that one through, did you? You should have moved the cars before the holiday.
Absolutely. We just don't have place to park a lot of those cars.
Wow, and that got you kicked out. Wow. Um, all right. So, how did you find land?
Right now, I just reach out to the landowner.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ray. I meant like so you were flipping houses. I mean, you were flipping cars.
Oh, okay.
Did you ever do houses, or did you go straight to land when you got into real estate?
No, I tried a lot of houses. When I was earning a lot of money through cars, I used those money as education to learn houses, apartments, basically everything. I paid over 300,000 to all these gurus and mentorship, but none of them seem to work at all. Um, and after about 6 years, 5 years of trying, I was kind of tired of it. I was about to give up. And then land was the last thing I was going to try.
Wow, I didn't know you went through apartment program and houses. Okay, so you found land. You did some education in land. So Tell me about your first deal, man. How'd you find it, and how'd the first deal go?
Yeah, the first deal I sent mailers to a county in Colorado. And it was pretty easy back then. We sent 2,000 mailers. We got a lot of people called. I had, about 3 or 4 deals out of my first mailer. And this lady, she is willing to sell her land for 1,100. The land worth 2,500. So that's what, I bought it for 11 and sold it for 25.
That was your first deal, and do you remember how much it cost you in marketing to find her, to find Connie?
Just 2,000 mailers, about 1,100,
Wow,
or 1,000 postcards.
wow. And so you didn't make a ton of profit on your first deal, but it doesn't matter because the first deal is about learning the process, making it real. And I learned, at least from my own experience, because I started on houses, like there's just after you do your first deal, it changes your world. There's a difference between me believing what my coach was or my mentor was telling me at the time, and then me actually seeing the money hit the bank. And so it changed everything for me and how I viewed the world. Did you find it was something like that as well with you with land?
Yeah, absolutely. And I see that a lot through my students as well. Some of them make money right away. Some of them, take a while to make money. And once they do their first deal, everything seems to be easier somehow. Yeah,
Yeah, and then every deal's easier. Each one, at least for me, every deal I did after that just got easier and easier and easier and more profitable because you learn how to get better and better at what you do. Um,
absolutely.
that's awesome. And then how did you sell it? Did you wholesale it to another investor? Did you list it on the MLS? How did you exit that first deal?
Yeah, I just sold it to another investor through Facebook.
Through Facebook
Yeah,
Marketplace. Awesome.
yeah. It was very easy.
That was very easy. Did you I don't know the rules. I'm in Texas. I don't know the rules in Colorado. Did you have to buy the property and take title to it, or could you market it the wholesale contract? How does that work?
Yeah, I just bought it, you know, and um, and then I sold it to another guy. And after that deal, I mailed that Connie again, and I hit one of the guy who owned a couple hundred parcels, and he sold me more than 150 parcels in that area. And
Wow.
and each one I earned about 1,000 to 1,500. So
One one seller had 150 parcels in the same county and they sold you all of them.
he has 300 parcels, but he sold me half of his portfolio.
Wow. Did you do that all in one transaction or did you do it one at a time? How did you and him structure that?
We did 10 parcels at a time. I bought 10. I thought it would take me forever to sell them. I paid 15,000 for 10 of them, but I sold it within 2 days. Um, and I sold all of his 150 parcels in 4 months.
That
Yeah,
is amazing. 150 parcels in just a couple of months. And you said you profited about $1,000 a parcel, plus or
yeah,
minus.
yeah. A
Wow.
thousand to 1,500 each.
Were you self closing those?
Yeah, I was doing self-closing.
Okay, you were doing self perform. So for those listening, self closing is when you don't use a title company, but you self perform. This is your first deal. I don't recommend anyone listening self perform their first closing. Um, you can learn the process of title and lien searches, and you can build out a process where you or somebody on your team or a VA does the
Mm,
closings. And also, every state's different, so learn your own state. But some of these smaller deals, they just don't make economic sense unless you self close them.
absolutely.
Yeah, but work with someone that knows what they're doing before you start self closing your own land. And so, as you're like knocking these parcels out and you're just selling them, did you sell almost all of them through Facebook Marketplace?
I joined a group. This group has all the land investors. So what they do is they buy a land and sell on terms, sell owner financing, which I hate the most. And I don't want to do that, so I joined them. But I provide them all these properties.
I see. So you were
Yeah.
selling them for cash, and the people that were buying them were turning around and owner financing them. So they were selling them with interest rate and terms to an end buyer who didn't have all the cash at once but wanted to make payments on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in land investing, you can go either way. You can sell for cash, you can owner finance, but it looks like you do not like to owner finance. You just like to flip it and be done in cash.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of tire kicker in owner financing. They
Uh,
say they're gonna buy, but they never do anything.
I see. So you have a lot of window shoppers and a lot of people that aren't serious buyers when you do owner financing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's interesting. Same thing in houses, brother. When you sell houses owner financing, you really gotta have a system to handle all the incoming inquiries or leads from people who want to buy houses. You got to systematize that because there's a lot of tire kickers, people that are not serious, or they don't have money, or they have money but they're just like dreaming or wishing that one day they can own the house or the land. Um,
Sure.
yeah. So, as you were selling those properties and you were making about $1,000 a lot, what were you doing with all that money that came in? Because that's a lot of money really quickly for somebody who's new to real estate.
Yeah, I already earning quite a good money in cars, so it doesn't make a very big difference for my life. But I just use those money to buy more cars, more land. But I was still doing on the side. It took me about half an hour a day to do the land thing. But mainly I was doing cars by then. I was in Hawaii.
You were living in Hawaii at the time?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, wow. And so you were still doing cars and then you were also doing land, and it was only taking you a half hour to an hour a day.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That
I only need to go to the bank and do the notary, because I have a lot of people trying to buy it. I'm the seller. I just need to get a notary done, and that's it.
Wow, easy peasy. That is
Yeah.
awesome. So how were you generating leads at that time? You were just sending letters or postcards or a combination of both?
I didn't do anything. The 150 parcels kept me pretty busy. Um, I bought everything from this one guy, so I don't need to buy more land. I just busy selling them. You know, it was very good days. I just wake up and post in the group. This is the parcel number. And after a couple hours, I already have like 30 comments, and some people are already calling me. By the end of the day, I already know who is the buyer.
Wow, that's amazing. And then you just
Yeah,
took the profits from those deals and just reinvested it in marketing, right? To keep more
yeah,
deals coming in.
yeah, absolutely.
Wow. And so, tell me what your business looks like today. Like, what have you learned? How has it changed?
A lot of things has changed. So, I was in Hawaii, and one day I just felt like I need to do this land thing full time. Um, car was good, but it would just keep me busy. But land, I can do least amount of work and earn very big profit. So I told my family I'm gonna move to Florida. It was a very hard decision to make because I was earning about 40 to 50 grand a month just flipping cars in Hawaii. Um, but I had to cut loose all of that and move to Florida, and there was absolutely no more income. It was kind of scary, right? But I decided to do land full time. So a couple of things need to change. First of all, I need to do I need to change area where I'm doing land because if I keep doing the small deals, it won't do any good. I couldn't find the second guy who has a couple hundred, parcels. Now I have to do more profitable deals, so I had to change the strategy. So right now I don't do small deals anymore. If the land only worth a couple thousand, I'm not really interested. I don't do rural land. Rural land means the land out of nowhere. You see nothing but land. Those are rural land. I only do land within the cities. Outside the big major cities, for example, if you're in Houston, that's a big major city. I don't do it there. I do Galveston, corporate Christie, just some areas around that big city. Those ones are very, very easy to sell, um, pretty easy to buy too. So
And so are you doing raw land, or is it already like lots? Is it already subdivided and plotted and everything? Or what does it look like what you buy now?
I don't buy rural land. I only do infill lots. So the land within the cities, has a lot of houses already. Maybe in the middle of the houses, there's a land. That's what I do.
You're doing infill lots. Yeah, so there's less permitting, there's less to do to it. It's usually ready for somebody to build on. Um, and that explains also why you're not doing a lot of owner financing, because when you sell an infill lot for cash, if someone needs to build on it, they're usually using a construction loan, which means that the lender who's going to give you somebody a construction loan, they want that lot to be free and clear because they want that piece of land secured to that mortgage for the construction loan. So that also makes sense why you wouldn't really be doing a lot of owner financing. And so, do you find that a lot of your end buyers, are they building on it seriously, or are they just kind of holding it as an asset, putting it in a self-directed IRA? What do you think they're doing with it?
About 50-50. So most of the buyers are builders. Some of them just want to buy a land, as long as they're not super expensive. Um, some areas are growing very fast, so maybe some people want to buy it for appreciation.
Yeah, so I've met throughout my travels, I've met several people who do what's called land banking. Everybody listening, that's where you buy land not necessarily to build on or take action with, but to hold as an asset and let it appreciate as the area develops. Some people don't like the stock market, or they want to diversify, and you can even use a self-directed IRA or a self-directed solo 401k or other retirement accounts to hold land. If anybody listening is interested in that, DM me on Instagram at Michael B. Someone. DM me IRA, and I can get you set up with my IRA person. If you're interested in holding land or other alternative assets in your self-directed IRA, in your retirement accounts. Like I
Yeah.
said, some people don't like the stock market. Some people just want to diversify. And I know several people who have put lots in their retirement account, and it's tax free, tax advantage. They hold it for years, and they wait for a good offer to come along, and they sell it and do really well. Um, so
Absolutely. So a lot of people, they look at maybe a stock markets, let alone right now we're in the downtrend. But let's say they're in the uptrend. What's the best year, you can get? Maybe 10%, 15% a year. That's it. Rarely anyone can double their money every year, right? But with land, you can. So, for example, I decided to move from Hawaii to Florida, and I moved to Jacksonville. When I first moved here, I started to buy land here. I see a lot of cheap land in the downtown area. I paid $2,000, 1,500, 2,500, a parcel. I bought maybe 10 of them. By then, it was about a third of the value, half of the value. Right now, I just sold one last week for 20 grand. That's the one I bought it for 2 grand. I've been in Jacksonville about 3 years now. So 3 years of time, the land I think tripled in the value, but it didn't triple my investment because I bought it third of the value by then. So that's why I got about 900% return in 3 years.
That is amazing. Yeah, you're right. You're not going to have those kind of returns in the stock market. You know, I've talked about this before on other podcasts, but on my wife and I's first deal, when we were skeptical if real estate investing works, we bought a house and we had similar returns. We put like 17 grand into a house, and when the property was stabilized, we had $55,000 in profit if we would have sold it right then and there. And so again, that is like a it's not as good as your returns on land, of course, but
More
and
profit.
yeah, yeah, but man, that's way more profit than you'll ever get in the stock market. Um, that is insane numbers, man, that there's appreciation that fast in certain
Yeah,
markets for the land. And, you know, it's a supply and demand metric as well. Just because the land triples in value doesn't mean the houses are tripling in value. So anybody listening to this might think, oh, well, that doesn't happen or can't happen or doesn't happen here because I haven't seen a house go from 500,000 to 1.5 million. What I would tell you is that it's a supply and demand equation. The value of the land can go up greatly while the house value only goes up slightly. And there's a limited amount of this land, and builders need that land in order to give people the houses they need. So the two do not always move together on the chart. Land values can go up drastically while housing prices only go up a little bit. It's a supply and demand metric.
absolutely. And house maybe you can profit more as far as margin, but land definitely will give you a better return as far as percentage.
Yeah, that's right. And are you're not using any leverage or any loans on these things, right? You're just buying them
Yeah,
cash.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're buying such small amount of 1,000, 2,000, $5,000, there are land funders and there are people out there that specialize in funding land. But these small parcels, you really got to buy it cash, or use your retirement accounts like a self-directed IRA, or use a partner or private lender's account money for that.
Absolutely.
Do you use private money?
No, I always use my own money. But there's people out there doing that. If you're not sure about the land deal, you can just put on the contract and just sell the contract, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. You can wholesale the agreement. So
Yeah.
Ray's closing on a lot of the deals himself, but you could always just put it under contract and sell the contract. Depending on what state you're in, it's very easy to wholesale the contract. There are a couple states where it can be difficult, so make sure you understand what's going on in your state. But yeah, I like that. But you've never really wholesaled, have you? You've just always bought it yourself and then resold it, right?
I wholesale some of it, very few. So I had a really tough deal last year. I put it on the contract for 30,000 or something, and I posted for sale right away, and we couldn't find the seller, after that, and then there's another guy came in to put on the contract. So I filed a memorandum to hold the property, and that guy filed a memorandum. It was a whole mess. And then there's a third guy came in. That's the only only deal I wholesaled. It was a very tough one, and I just we were holding for 8 months before that deal closed, and I had to pay the other guy about 6,000 to have it released to me.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing you had multiple exit strategies. So when a problem came up, you knew how to solve that. Um, so how are you generating leads now for your business? How are you finding parcels today?
Recently, I have been slow down on the mailers because I have to travel a lot. I'm going to Japan, China this month. But I used to send about 100,000 mailers every month through mailers. So it's all mail. I don't do cold call. I don't do text message. I only send mailers to the landowners. Um, I was doing well by the end of October 23. So I was doing well. And then I had a lot of cash sitting around. Um, and I went to an event, Brent Bowers and Joe McCall. of course, Tom Cruise inspired me, and they want me to do more. So I just decided to spend all the money. Not not but all those money spent on the good thing. I sent out all the, you know, a lot of mailers, about 70,000 a month, $70,000 a month, and start buying a lot. I bought 100 something parcels through all those mailers. I basically was buying a land, at least one land a day, for about 5 months. Um, and then um, that was kind of a game changer for me. But right now, I basically get rid of most of the land. I still have about 30 parcels left. Um, but my money tripled, you know.
Wow, that's amazing, Ray. So, um, you mentioned Japan. I love Japan. I've been to Japan multiple times. I've never been to China yet, but it's on the list. Japan is,
Mhm.
for anybody listening that wants to travel internationally, Japan will change your life, man. That's amazing. If
Yeah.
one day I'm gonna take a very extended stay in Japan. This is why I'm building my real estate business to reach those goals. 100,000 mailers a month, brother. That is insane. You're not running that hot today. You're not doing that kind of volume now. But when those were happening, were you taking the calls live, or were you letting it go to a voicemail and you were following up later?
Yeah, so some of it, most of all of the calls go to a voicemail. It's a very simple voicemail saying, "My name is Ray. Please let me know what county is your land in, and what is the parcel number, or what's your name." That's it. And some people were super mad at my offer letter. I sent them an offer letter with the price. Um, some of them want to sell. I only call those people back. If I'm mad, if some voicemail is really nasty, I'll call them back, and we kind of curse each other. But but that's about it.
Ray. Oh man. So you don't just do, a lot of people do neutral letters, right? So Ray's talking about offer letters. So some people do neutral letters, which just says, "Hey, my name is Ray. I want to buy your house or your land. Give me a call. We can pay cash or we can do owner financing or whatever." Ray instead does offer letters where he puts a number in there of an estimate of what he would pay. And the true number he could pay could be slightly higher, slightly lower, but you've got it usually pretty dialed into the number you're going to close at, right?
Yeah, I never pay higher than the offer price. Normally, it's a lot lower than the offer price. Um, because when the people they accept the offer price on the letter, they tend to accept even lower.
I see.
Yeah.
And you're letting it go to a voicemail. You're not taking these calls live. And that's why you're able to run this business like half hour, 1 hour, hour and a half a day or something like that. Cause you can just set a time aside where you return phone calls.
Yeah,
Um,
it was about 3 hours a day. But I just listen to the voicemail, and if they're not interested to sell, I don't even call them back.
And how many times will you mail a landowner before you move on or give up on that seller?
Um, I don't mail the same county a lot of times because there are so many of them. And there's a lot of them I want to try, right? So of course, some counties didn't work at all. Some counties surprised me. So, for example, I talked to one of my mentors. He lived in Pennsylvania, and I was like, I never been to Pennsylvania. Let me try that. So I mailed, some counties in Pennsylvania. Some of the counties have very good return. Some counties I still haven't sold the land yet. So you never know.
So you mail a county one time. You're not doing a 3 month, 6 month follow up. You're giving it one shot to an area where you think there's good opportunity. and if you don't hear anything, you move on to the next county.
Yeah, if I have a lot of deals, I'll go back to that county again.
I see.
Yeah.
So you're fishing, you're putting a lot of hooks in the water, and whenever you get a bite, you want to continue fishing in that pond, right?
Yeah, so um, Tom Curl said one thing I really agreed. He said, do what works. So whatever you're trying and have been working, keep doing that. And I add a little bit more, which is if it doesn't work, change it and do it again. So if this Connie doesn't work for me, I'll just change another one. There are so many of them. I don't have to keep wasting my money on this on this Connie. I couldn't have a deal, right? So
Right. Yeah, I have the same problem with a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners that I work with in my community, and they're like, something starts working, and they're like, "Oh, I just want to tweak this one little thing. Let me try this. Let me change the mail piece. Let me change. Is it working? Are you
yeah,
getting good sales, good response? Are you making money? Then stop playing with it. We only change things when there's a problem. And some people just usually the engineering types that I work with, they just always want to keep tweaking and tinkering until they work themselves out of a business, you know. So, so I'm
absolutely.
glad you're not like that, Ray.
Yeah, I'm not that smart, so
Yeah.
yeah, I just keep doing the same thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. And so, how do you find a county that looks like you might want to consider mailing to it?
Um, as long as is not super far away from the major city, I can mail that one. And I look at Google Map; it's not like super rural. I'll just do that. It's pretty random. Um, I was reading a news, and I think that news saying a lady got shot in this county. So I searched that county. I started mail that county. So it was pretty random. Yeah, I just go to any county I never heard about.
And so,
Yeah,
whew, give me a
yeah.
second to regain my composure here. So, do you do like are you looking for a county that touches a major city? Can it be 2 counties away, 3 counties away? Are you looking for miles, like 100 miles, 150 miles? How do you know that it might be a good candidate for mail?
Yeah, if it is super far away, it start to become super rural, rural land around. So I don't have a specific rule for that. As long as is not too far to the rural area.
I
And
see. And you
I'm
look at Google Maps and you want to see development, concrete, highways, things being built, but you want it to
yeah.
be outside of the major city, not inside the major city.
No, never inside. I mailed Dallas twice. Never had a deal. Almost got a deal. I mailed Houston once, no deal. Mailed San Antonio. There was one deal, you know. So it was kind of hard in the major cities. Very hard.
And when you're doing a mailing to a new county you've never mailed before, how do you determine how many letters should go out? How do you budget for a new county?
I just mail everybody in the county who own land for more than 5 years. So if you own a land for more than 5 years in that county, you'll get my letter.
The
Yeah.
entire county. Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. How many when you look at a big like what is a return? Do you when you're filtering the data, do you find like 2,500, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000? Are these really big mailings?
Not too big. A couple thousand.
Oh,
5,000.
really?
Yeah. So I eliminate all the land that is on the market. Whoever posted for sale, I don't mail them. I sometimes filter out all the HOAs. HOA sucks anyway. And I filter out all the people who don't want to be mailed. There's people don't want to be bothered, right? Uh, yeah, that's about it. And whoever own land for more than 5 years, I'll mail them a letter.
Okay. Wow, it's really really simple, huh? I thought there would be a lot more infill lots in some of these because you're naming off counties that have millions of people there, but I guess really the land is mostly either already built on with houses or it is raw rural land that hasn't been plotted and subdivided into lots yet. So yeah, I didn't think of that. There's probably just a small number of lots that are undeveloped in any county, right?
Not that much.
Wow.
Yeah, I was smelling Hawaii. Hawaii has a lot. The Big Island. I had a lot of deals going on there. I sold most of them. I've only two left, so I think I'm gonna mail there again. You can go anywhere with land.
Yeah, because it's
Yeah,
everywhere, and they're not making. Well, we used to say invest in land because they're not making any more of it, and then the Saudis and Emiratis came along and started building islands. But unless you're in a few select places in the world, invest in land because most people are not making any more of it.
absolutely. Uh,
um, Go ahead.
yeah, most people have urge to buy it for some reason. It sounds very sexy to own land.
Yeah, it's tangible and it's something people can understand where they might invest in an index fund or a stock of a company that does some complicated overseas software, who knows what it is, but people can really wrap their head around the idea of here's a piece of land, they know it's valuable. If they're older than 18 years old, they probably have seen development happen, they've seen housing and land prices go up. I think it's something that people can really understand.
Absolutely.
And so when you do a new mailing in a new county, how long do you like if because your mailing count is just one time, and this is a different strategy than the strategy I've heard from other land investors. So if you're going to mail a county one time and the mail went out today, how long do you normally wait to expect to have phone calls come in?
About 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah, that's about people start to call you. And if they don't call you, that means your offer is too low. There's some gurus teaching people, you need to mail 20% of the value. Yeah, no, you're never gonna get a deal, right? That's too low. I typically mail about 70% of the value, and when people call me, I'll negotiate again. Maybe I end up buying it for 20%, but I never mail it 20%.
And you don't use land funders, you don't use anything. You're buying it with your own money, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I've had land funders tell me that if you need people to bring money into your deal, if you're land investing, they typically want to stay under 50% of the value, 50% LTV, for a land funder to get involved in your deal. And they also have a minimum size. So if you're buying a $500 or $1,000 lot, you're going to have to self perform on that, or maybe have a private lender. Um, but yeah, you're buying with your own money, and it's different. We have to kind of explain this because a lot of people that watch this show either do houses or apartments, and there's like this formula that we've taught forever that with houses you want to buy around 75 to 70% of the loan to value. So you want about 70 cents on the dollar minus repairs, but with land you can go lower. They're looking for lower on that. So if you can buy 50% loan to value or less, that's a good looking deal. You can get partners involved in it if it's a high enough purchase price. Um, but how often would you say you buy something for 20 or 30 cents on the dollar? How many deals that you close would you say that happens?
Pretty often. Um, I don't know. Maybe people like my accent. They just sell their land to me very cheap. I tell some people how much I bought it for. They won't believe it, right? I'm closing a deal this week. I'm buying it for 30 something thousand. The land worth about 90, right? So, just something like that. I guess you just have to know how to negotiate. That's a big part of our program. In our program, we teach majorly about how to negotiate with people. right? And it's really an emotional game, and most people don't like their land already. So if you know what to say, I guess they'll sell it very cheap to you.
Yeah, I agree with you. There is a lot of emotion in houses, particularly because in many cases someone lives there. Sometimes, like the house that I'm living in right now, I bought nearly 50 cents on the dollar off market using direct mail, and it was a rental property or a second home of somebody, and it got destroyed. And so there wasn't a lot of emotion in that transaction. But whenever you're dealing with someone's house, there's a lot that you have to work through with the seller to help them find a new place. There's a lot of moving parts. Where land's very easy. Nobody's living on an infill lot, and
Yeah.
in some cases they're just paying the taxes on it. Maybe they're paying HOA assessments on it. Maybe they have to get it mowed or maintained or cut every so often to meet the HOA requirements. And so for them, it's you're really helping them out and doing a favor. You're putting cash in their pocket and getting a liability off of their balance sheet. So I think I understand that those kind of deals happen where you can buy a $90,000 parcel for $30,000, but I could definitely understand why you might have to bring the closing statements and the HUD statements and put them up on the board for people to see when you do presentations. Because man,
Right.
you can make $60,000 off one deal, off one parcel of land, and some people work all year to make $60,000 and then pay tax on top of that. So that's a pretty amazing opportunity, Ray.
Yeah, yeah. About I read the number about 60 or 70%. Their whole family earn about 60 grand. Two people working full
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, that's
So
right. And I haven't checked it in years, but at one point here in Houston, the median income of a household was like 56,000 a year. So what that means in household, that could mean that the husband and the wife are both working full time and they're judging the household income. I think that's gone up a little bit because that was right before the pandemic when I checked that. But some people work all year long to make less than what one of these land deals can get you. Um, let's talk about VAs. So with the volume you're doing, do you employ any virtual assistants or do you have team members here in the US? What's your team look like?
I have one VA. I pay him very well, about $2 an hour. Um, yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
Well, Ray, I pay my VAs a little more than you do, brother.
Yeah, yeah, I thought I was doing well, but you're doing better.
I pay them better than you do, my man. You said $2 an hour. You pay your VA. Was that right? Did I hear you right? Because your microphone cut out a little bit. Was it $2 an hour?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I pay my VAs a little better than that, and I also give them PTO. Like I give them 2 weeks of paid time off a year, and one of my goals is so somebody that is in my network in my world. He had a lot of VAs in the Philippines, and he had a record breaking year of profit. So he flew to the Philippines, rented a boat, had all of his VAs come out, took their family out on a boat, went and partied, bought them alcohol, had a good time. I want to do that eventually. I'm not there yet. I'm not at that Ray level. But you have
Y-
one VA, and then what does the workflow look like for your VA? How does he earn his $2 an hour?
It was very hard for him to earn that $2 an hour even because I don't have too much work for him. Um,
Ah,
and maybe he helped me sort the list. He helped me create some deed sometime. Let me do some title research. That's about it. So
wow. So you're doing a lot of this work yourself, even though it's just a couple hours a day.
yeah, I just because think about it. Land flipping, you just need to take the calls, see if this is a good deal. That's it. If it is a good deal, send it to the title company. They will handle everything. If it is not a good deal, you just end up the conversation. So there's not much to do
Okay.
to start with.
What CRM are you using to manage all your leads and incoming calls?
Yeah, very complicated one. It's a Google Sheet. Uh, uh, and a Google Sheet and yellow pad. I said, look at this. So I would just write down whoever called me. I write it down, and then I call them back. If it is a good deal, I put on Google Sheet.
Wow. Yeah, so for everybody not watching on YouTube, he held up a yellow legal pad with his notes on it. So he does just use Google Sheets and a yellow legal pad. That's his CRM. Man,
Yeah.
you're spending too much money, brother. We got to talk about cutting back on your operating budget there.
I know. There, you know, a big mistake a lot of people make, especially when they start to do any business, they become very fancy, right? I need a name card. I need a CRM. I need a office. I need this and that. But Tom Curl said, um, revenue first. You need to make money, right? That's all you need to do.
Yeah, I love Tom Kroll as well, and me and Tom Kroll are friends, and we're gonna have him on the podcast. And he says the same thing: revenue in first position. Everything else, he has to get on to people all the time at meetups and conferences where they're like, "How do I put the right name in the right slot? I'm messing with my CRM, and I'm does my website look good?" And he's like, "What are you doing? Get out of that thing. You either don't need it, or if you need it, you need to give it to a VA and let them figure it out. And you need to have a revenue in first position." So I love that. And man, you Tom Kroll must not have many notes for you, man, because you're not. You got one VA, you got Google Sheets, you got a legal pad, and then who's your mail house? Who are you mailing through right now?
I mail through Rocket Mail. If anyone needs contact, let me know. I think they have a discount if you mention my name. Um, but
And
they
and
do.
how would people get a hold of you if they wanted your discount?
They can call me anytime or text me. My number is 808-308-3227. That's my cell phone number. So uh, they can just text me. I will mail you guys the contact information.
Look at that. He gave his phone number out on the podcast and everything. And so you guys can text him, call him. Do you want him to call you or text you?
Text me would be better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So Rocket Print sends out your mail. Are you? So you're doing the letters, right? You're doing soft offer, or you're doing offer letters.
correct.
Okay, and Rocket Mail is setting that up for you, where they're doing 70% of the LTV, or do you pull that data and you give it to them, or how does that work?
Yeah, I have to download the list and then I do it myself or my VA do it, and then send the finished file to the Rocket Mail.
Wow.
By the way, I have some very good discount, about 80% discount on the list source. That's where I pull my data. I use list source or data tree. So we have account that can set up for 3 cents per name, which you rarely see anywhere else. Normally it's about 17, 18 cents each name. Yeah, download those lists. If anyone need a account like that, let me know.
Wow, List Source. Yeah, I used them years ago when I first got started. List Source is great. They're like the OG. They've been around forever. I'm gonna hit you up for that discount on List Source because I still use them, and they're not
Yeah.
giving me that kind of discount. I need to get on that Ray program.
Yeah, how much you're paying per name right now?
I don't remember. I would have to look, but I was pulling, I don't know, between 5,000 and 12,000 uh, records at a time, but I'll have to look. My VA
Yeah.
does it because I follow Tom Kroll's teaching of automate, delegate, or eliminate, and I hand things to a VA. So I'd have to look at that. It's mixed in with I was skip tracing as well quite a bit with single family houses, but with land, you don't have to skip trace, right? Because you don't need the phone number and email. All you need is the address and the name because you're sending them a letter.
Correct.
Yeah, and then so how do you figure out the 70% of LTV? Are you just doing it 70% of what list source says it's worth, or how do you do that?
I do 70% of the assessed value. So each land or house has an assessed value. Assessed value is not very accurate with houses. Normally, a house worth a lot more than the assessed value, but with land, they are very close. So, for example, if a land assessed for 7,000, 20,000, the land value maybe is a little bit above that. It's not too far away. You rarely see a land, worth 30,000 and then assessed for 10,000. Very rare. right? So normally they're like a couple hundred, couple thousand apart. So I mailed everybody with 70% of the assessed value. It's already lower, than the market price. So if I can negotiate again, that'd be, even cheaper. So
Yeah. So what Ray's talking about, everybody, is the assessed value of the county does not reflect the market value. And so if you look up the assessed value of what the county is taxing you on your home or your land versus what Zillow or what a licensed real estate agent will tell you, you'll notice a difference because the market price will be different than the assessed price. And so to keep it easy and simple, Ray is just using the assessed value, which is 99% of the time is going to be lower than the market value. So it
yep.
makes it easy. You just look up and does your VA do that, or are you doing all that work yourself?
Yeah, and it's only in 3 minutes it's done.
Wow.
Because on list source or data tree, you can download the assessed value, and you just do the calculation. Click some buttons, it's done.
And then you just upload a list into Rocket Mail and let them shoot off the letters and wait 2 or 3 weeks and check your voicemail.
Absolutely, that's what
That
you
is
do.
awesome. And you're signing contracts through some kind of DocuSign or some kind of digital contract. You're not mailing contracts, right?
Very rarely, unless they are like super old, like me, right? They're like 80 years old. They say, I don't know how to use DocuSign. And I had a guy, he's like 80. I was trying to tell him over the phone how to do DocuSign, and he pulled his phone and he opened the DocuSign. He said, I try to use my pen on the screen. It doesn't work. I said, you don't use your pen, you use your hand, right? But unless they're that old, I just generally do DocuSign.
Okay. Man, you got it. It's all set up. And then, so you self perform the closings. Does your VA do that, or do you do that when you do the self closing?
I right now I don't do much self closing anymore because I'm not very good at it. So we have some other guests. But anyways,
All right. So talk to me a little bit about self performing a close. I've never done that. And I'm interested to know, like, do you do it yourself? Does a VA do it? How do you do it?
I don't do as much of self closing anymore because there's just too much variables. If you write the legal description wrong, you're gonna have a problem when you sell it. So I just use title company. But if you do want to use that, the first step is always to do a title research. You don't want to do it yourself. You want to hire someone who specializes in that. I do happen to have a guy who charge very cheap. So if anyone need people to do title research, let me know. They charge less than $200, and I can just refer it to you. But do the title research first, and secondly, you have to prepare the deed. It's either someone prepare for you, some real estate attorney. They know how to prepare a deed for you. I'm actually flying to Dallas, no, San Antonio in 2 days. I'm gonna self-close the deal on the seller side. So I got a guy who called me. He said, I'm gonna buy your land, but can we not go through title company? He doesn't want to pay the closing fee, I guess. So I said, fine, we can just meet at the courthouse. So we're gonna meet at the courthouse. He gave me the cash. I gave him the deed. That's it.
Okay, that's an interesting one. So when you are self-performing the closings, it's usually on smaller parcels of land, right? But once you get into these bigger deals, bigger transactions, it's okay to include the cost. You can afford to use a title company and do a professional third-party closing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of weeks ago, me and my dad we flew to Pennsylvania, and this guy is saying the same thing. I'm gonna give you the cash. You get the deed ready for me. I kind of feel like he's kind of not, he's kind of out, kind of weird guy. But I didn't know if I should go or not because I wanted to do it through the title company, but he insists he just want to do it self-closing. So eventually, I still fly there. We met at the bank. He just gave me $19,000 cash. I gave him the deed. I bought that land for a couple $100. So, um, you know,
Wow. So that'll cover the
it's,
cost of a flight, a hotel, food, no problem. You must really like to travel, man, because I'm pretty sure people would have hired a third party or found a way to do this differently. You must really love to travel.
yeah, you can hire a notary to do everything for you on that.
But will a notary take 19,000 cash and go deposit it in the bank for you?
If you have the buyer give you a cashier check, he can.
Ah, right. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But Ray's a cowboy and does it the Wild West way and just gets on a plane and says, "Give me the cash."
Yes, this is what I like to do. So my my cost on the traveling was not covered by the profit of the land, but it's covered by the cars. So let me explain to you what I do. So in my area, we don't have too much cars. So what I do is, let's say if I fly to New York, and I will just fly to New York and then fly back to Orlando, which is about 2 hours away from me. And I'll buy a car and drive home. And that car's profit can cover everything on the trip.
Wow. You are still flipping cars?
Yeah, when I travel, yes.
Wow, you are an animal. So you find a way to make money even while you're traveling to make money. There's two.
Yeah, I became less crazy now. What I used to do is I live in Jacksonville, Florida. I fly to New York and close some land deals. I'll buy a car in New York and drive home.
Wow.
And I don't want to do that anymore. So
Yeah, that gets tiring. I had a job back when I was in corporate America. I had a job where if it was in Texas or Louisiana or Oklahoma, I would drive. But if it was further than that, I would fly. And you get real tired real quick of 8-10 hour drives. Or at least I did. After a few years, you're like, what am I doing with my life?
absolutely.
Yeah, so in many cases, I'd rather fly to LA or fly to Florida than I would rather drive to Dallas or drive to Oklahoma from Houston. But you're a hustler. You're out there. Are you married?
Yeah, yeah. It's hard to not get married as handsome as me, but just kidding. I have 3 kids already, so
Wow. So you have three
yeah.
kids already. Yeah. For me, it was the other way around. I've talked about it on this podcast before, but I was traveling every week, Monday through Friday. I would fly out to different cities for work and then fly home on Thursday or Friday. And my wife was in a master's program, and she said that you can do whatever you want while I'm in school, but whenever I finish school and I start working, you need to come home. So for me, instead of finding another job like most people would have did, I just started building my real estate business while I was working full time, and then just kind of crossed that bridge into the full time real estate game like that. And so after 8 years of traveling every week for my job. My wife does not want me to travel unless we are traveling together. But real estate is great because I have are you going to Tom Kroll's conference at the end of the month in
I
Orlando?
yeah, I really wish I could. I have to go to Japan and be on the flight. Yeah.
he really he'd love to drive an hour to a conference, but he's got to fly to Asia instead for a vacation.
Right. Yeah, I never miss Tom Cruise any event.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be there. I'm sad you're not there, so we couldn't meet, but I'll be there at the end of the month,
Yeah.
and my wife will be there with me as well. So now when I travel for real estate and stuff like that, she comes with me. And you have three kids, man. How old?
There are 2, 4, and 6.
Wow,
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
You have do you have any kids?
Not yet, brother. That is in the plans. That is now that I'm not
Yeah.
working full time. Now that's a possibility. I can be a dad and be at home with the kids. So I'm very jealous. I'm 36 and I don't have any kids yet. Um,
Yeah, I'm about the same age as you, but it's kind of crazy. Be be cautious before you want to have a kid.
yeah. What do you recommend against it? Or are you telling me not to have kids? What was that, Ray?
Yeah, just you get kind of noisy and but they're very fun.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm so excited to be a father. And then a common discussion we're having all the time is how do we involve kids in the real estate business without A, forcing them to do it, and B, making them hate it? Because we're in a lot of masterminds, and there are some people's kids who are really involved. They love it. But a lot of the people I'm surrounded with, their children want nothing to do with it. They don't want to hear the word real estate. They want to go to college and do something completely opposite. And so we don't want to force our kid to be in real estate. We just want them to be raised around it, educated, understand it. And then if they choose to do it, it'll be easy for them. Do you have plans of getting your kids involved with the business?
Yeah, sure. I mean, um, I think if I were them, I would just figure out what is already influenced the kids. So Tony Robbins said, if you want to influence people, you have to know what already influenced them. So I guess you just have to know what they want to do and relate it somehow to real estate. Okay, you want to be a doctor? Fine. How do you want to be a doctor? Do you want to be a doctor, uh, who don't need to worry about the money, and then somehow relate to real estate, right? So,
I see. Wow. I never thought of that. It's very powerful. I need to listen to more Tony Robbins, man. That was great.
here you go.
Yeah.
You need to jump around with Tony.
Yeah, I went to one Tony Robbins event. And it was, hey, the break time. Well, what's break? Get up and do jumping jacks. Go crazy. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Tony Robbins is he's something else, man. All right, let's see if I wrapped up my questions here. So you look at a county, you pull data from list source, you do 70% of the county's assessed value, you use Rocket Mail to do your mailings, and then it goes to a voicemail. It goes to a phone line. Do you use Google Voice? Does it go to your real phone? Where are the calls going?
I use a service called Burner app. So you can create about 10 phone numbers each phone. I have 5 phones, so you can create different area code. Whatever phone number you want.
Wow. What does that cost you to run Burner?
Each phone costs about $14 each month, so not a lot. I used to use CallReal. Then I figured they charge me 200 something a month, and they don't even notify me when I get a call. So I kind of just let it go.
And so you could run your whole business just from your phone. You don't you Some people run their business from their laptop. Sounds like you could run your whole business from your phone if you needed to. And of course a yellow pad.
Absolutely. You can definitely can. The phone, you can access everything. Can know how much the land is worth. You can write down the phone number, who call you, call them back. You can make offer. You can use DocuSign, everything.
And then you're still to this day, you're buying the land, you're putting it in your own name or in one of your LLC's names, and then you're just selling it through Facebook Marketplace. You're not using realtors.
I don't use realtors, but I post it on the MLS. I use a service called brokerless.com. It's a flat fee listing service. So you kind of have a realtor, right? But not really. Um, they just list the land for you. Whoever interested, the buyer will call you directly.
Brokerlist.com. And what do they charge? That's a flat fee listing brokerage. What do they charge to put land on there?
It's $99 in most of the states.
$99. And then how long will they list it for?
6 months.
6 month. And do you find that it usually sells within that 6 month, or do you have to renew the listing every so often?
Yeah, about 6 months you can be able to have enough time.
Okay. And then I guess it depends market to market, but how long is it taking to sell these infill lots right now?
You know, a lot of house guys said the land is easy to buy, hard to sell. Most people who said that pretty much don't have any idea how to sell land or buy land. Because my theory is any land is easy to sell if you can sell it cheap. You know, if you let's say you have a Lamborghini, right? And you say, oh, this Lamborghini is really hard to sell. Runs well, right? But how about you sell it for 20 grand? I guarantee you sell it today, right? So how do you sell it that cheap? The only way you can sell it that cheap is you bought it cheap. Let's say I bought the Lamborghini for 5,000, I can be able to sell it for 20 grand, right? So it's the same thing with land. You know, of course, you don't sell a land that deep discount, but you sell it cheaper than anybody else. And as long as you bought it cheap, you're gonna make a big profit.
I see. So your goal is to buy the land cheap because you're going to list the land for sale cheaper than the other parcels of land around you, right? So it sells quickly and you get your money back.
Absolutely.
Wow. And are you doing any land banking, or is there parcels you're holding on to long term because you want it to appreciate, or are you just trying to keep turning your money over?
Yeah. I don't hold much of the land. I used to. And then right now I just feel like it doesn't matter. You know, land is always appreciating, right? So I just sell them.
Yeah, I agree with that. And so, how are you doing comps on this? So let's say the county assessed the value at 10,000, and you buy the land for 3,000. Let's say, well, how do you comp it before you go list it on the MLS? Because the county's assessed value may not reflect the market value.
Yeah, I come three ways. The first way is I look at for sale. So if everybody is selling for 9,000, I'm gonna list for lower than 9,000. All right. So that's the first rule. Second rule is I look at sold. Sold is much accurate than for sale. And if everybody is selling for 10,000 and all the sold is around 5,000, you gotta list your land around 5,000. And then the last step is I would use the pending sold as a reference. So on Redfin, you can look at the pending sold, the one under contract. So I guess that's a very close number you can post it for.
And where are you getting that sold data?
Redfin,
Redfin. Okay,
yeah.
Redfin. And you don't, that's a free service, right? You can do that without paying, or do you have a premium account?
Yeah, everything with Raised is free. I never pay to watch a movie. It's always free. So, but
Free 99.
yeah.
Okay, awesome. And so you're still in the business. You're doing everything yourself here. You're comping, you're pulling the list yourself, Rocket Print sending it out yourself. The phone calls come to you, it goes to your voicemail. You're listing it on brokerlist.com yourself. You don't use LandWatch or anything like that. You don't use Lands of America. You just use Brokerlist and list it because you're not in the middle of nowhere. You're in a city. Um, those services like Land Watch and Lands of America and stuff, most of that is for rural land and large parcels of land far from the city. So
They're very expensive too. Land watch, you post a land, you can buy a watch already. So, and it's like $400 to post a land, right? So it's not worth
yeah.
it.
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff on Land Watch can be big parcels, dozens of acres or hundreds of acres. But even if you want to post some small parcel, they're still going to charge you several $100s for that. I hear it's worth it because people sell their land fast. But when you're buying in or near cities, you don't need to do that. You just get it on the MLS. So do you post it on the MLS with brokerless, and you also post it in local Facebook groups, or do you just post it on the MLS?
Only in MLS. Yeah, a lot of I don't like Facebook Marketplace for land. They text you, is this available? You say yes, and then you can not hear from them anymore. They're gone. Right? So they're not available anymore.
And
Yeah.
let's say you listed a piece of property on the MLS, and I want to buy it, and I have a realtor that represents me, and I want to buy it from you. The realtor calls you and says, "Hey, can you pay me a commission?" What do you say to that if you're flipping land?
I mean, if you are nice, I'll pay you, right? I normally pay 4%.
4%.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4%. And then you're not licensed yourself. You're not an agent, are you?
No.
Okay. And with brokerless, you're doing everything, right? They're just posting it, and then all the emails, texts, and phone calls come to you, right?
Absolutely. And mostly phone call. I just call them back.
Wow. Dude, I'm trying to find a way where this is difficult, and I haven't found it yet. I'm trying to find the trick, the challenge. I'm trying, but it's so simple. It like hurts my head how easy this is and how cheap this is.
Yeah, there's nothing much you need to do. That's why I do something else, maybe buy cars, There's not really much you can do.
Yeah, travel internationally, raise your children, flip cars. You're still flipping cars. Do you have a shop, or are you doing it on your own land, or what? Did you buy land with letters to put cars on, and now the HOA hates you? What are you doing?
Yeah, it's the last option. The HOA does hate me, but I better. I was trying to find a land to park all these cars, but it's hard to find a land nearby. But I'm trying. Let's see. Um, but that's all I do. Land, cars. I teach people how to do land too. Just
That's right.
very very
That's right.
fun.
You do have a community of land flippers, and so what if people wanted to find that? What would they look? What would they look up?
They can add my Instagram. My Instagram is the same name here, Virtual Flip Land. Um, Virtual Flip Land, one word. I'm glad to answer any questions.
Virtual flip land. Awesome. Well, I'm going to move to the last segment of this show, brother. This has been awesome, and I keep writing down questions here, but I know you got to get out of here. Your big commitment of 2 to 3 hour a day job is demanding, so I don't want to take up any more of your time. So, on every podcast, I like to tell the story that our life is like a ship, and we are on a course, and we like to think we chose that course. But more often than not, it was our friends, our family, where we were born, where we were raised, the school we went to. Something in our community defines the course that we're on. And a ship is large and heavy and turns very slowly. And so when I talk to real estate investors and entrepreneurs, I usually find that what turned the course of their ship was usually a book. So I ask every guest, what was the book that either got you into real estate or changed how you run your business today? What book do you have for us, brother?
Yeah. So, what happened when I started to become international students? When I first moved to Hawaii, I was a janitor, so I was cleaning up floors. I don't know what the hell I was doing. I was just so tired. And then I want to change my life because I wasn't paid enough to even pay the tuition. And tuition is 4,000 a semester. There are 3 semesters a year. I was earning about $700 a month if I work full time. If I don't work full time, which normally I don't, will earn me about $400 a month, and that's gonna take me a while to pay off any tuition, and plus that not including my living expense. So I started to listen to books when I was being a janitor. Then there came to a book called I'm not gonna say Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's not Poor Dad Poor Dad either. It's called The Science of Getting Rich. Um, is it was written long time ago. It's kind of, very good way to teach you how to prepare your mindset to earn more money. So it's a very short book. It's called The Science of Getting Rich. So I listen to that about 4 times a day. So I listened to that a couple hundred times. About 4 months later, I was earning about $13,000 per month instead of $400 per month. So I think that's very powerful way to change the course of your ship.
Wow. The Science of Getting Rich. Awesome. Is that still in print? Do you think you can still buy that? Do they still print that book?
Yeah, absolutely. They're everywhere.
Awesome. Yeah, I've had some people recommend books to me that were originally written in the 80s or 90s, and it's not in print anymore. You have to like buy used copies of it on Amazon, but it's on Audible too, right? You said you listened to it.
I just went on YouTube and there's people recorded.
Awesome. So you pay for
Yeah.
nothing when you're with Ray. Pay for nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
I love it, brother. You are crushing it. And so I also like to, we're big believers of the go giver here in this community. And so I tell the story on every episode. So when you were born, your parents gave to you long before you were capable of giving back to them. And most jobs, you work 2 weeks or more before you get a paycheck. So if anybody listening to this, if their plan is to hold firewood in their hand and look at the fireplace and say, "Give me the warmth first, and then I'll give you this wood," they're going to have a very cold winter. So I ask every guest on every episode, Ray, what can you give the audience today?
I can give my phone number, and you can leave that open-ended. And if you have any questions, if you need anything, like let's say a contract, and if you want to do self-closing, let's say you need a list source discount, just let me know, and you can always reach me at 808-308-3227. That's my phone number.
That was 808-308-3227. Is that
Correct.
right?
Correct.
All right. Very generous, man. And then what can the audience give you today?
You can give me a following, and on my Instagram. My Instagram is virtual flipland. You can go there anytime, and if you have any questions, just text me too.
Awesome. And if you like this show, wherever you're watching it, please give me a like, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, give me a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts if you felt the show deserved it. And give me a follow on Instagram. I'm at Michael B. Someone, all one word, on Instagram. And you can also, if you have any questions, shoot me a text. I give my phone number out as well. Please don't call me. Shoot me a text because I get so many spam calls I won't answer. It's 832-301-9672. This is Michael Hong for the Be Someone podcast with Ray Zhang, signing off.
Thank you, Michael.